scorching lava, pyroclastic flows, and thousands of dead. Volcanic eruptions not only destroyed buildings, but also erased entire civilizations from the map. In this video, 5 of the most terrifying catastrophes where nature triumphed over mankind, and what remains in their place today. Heimaey, the only inhabited island in the Westman Islands archipelago off the southern coast of Iceland. In 1973, it was a cozy fishing town with a population of about 5,300. The island was considered stable, despite the volcanic nature of the region. But everything changed on the night of January 22, 23. Around 2 a.m., without any warning, a new volcanic fissure more than 1.5 kilometers long opened. Lava, ash, and volcanic gases began to erupt from it. The eruption was sudden. The Eldfell volcano, fire mountain, literally grew next to the town in just a few hours. Lava flows and pyroclastic materials advanced toward houses and the main port, which was vital for the island's economy. Despite the late hour, evacuation was organized with lightning speed. Thanks to a storm warning the day before, many fishing vessels were in the harbor. People were woken by sirens, shouts, and church bells. Within a few hours, almost all the residents, more than 5,000 people, were evacuated from the island. It is considered one of the most successful evacuations in Iceland's history. The eruption lasted almost 6 months. Until June 1973, lava destroyed more than 400 houses and a significant part of the infrastructure. The volcano created a new hill 200 meters high, and the area of the island increased by 2.2 kilometers true. The greatest threat was that the lava flow could completely block the entrance to the port. To prevent this, engineers began an unprecedented operation, cooling the lava with seawater. More than 6 million tons of water were used, pumped continuously through pumps and hoses. This made it possible to slow down the lava's movement and save the harbor. After the eruption ended, residents began to return. Reconstruction lasted for years, but eventually the town recovered. Today, Eldfell Volcano is an open-air museum, and houses left under ash remain a reminder of the power of nature. In the heart of Italy, at the foot of the stratovolcano Vesuvius, was located the wealthy Roman city of Pompeii. It flourished at the beginning of our era. More than 15,000 people lived here, artisans worked, there were baths, markets, and theaters. However, on August 24, 79 AD, the history of this city stopped forever. It was then that Vesuvius, which had been silent for hundreds of years, exploded with powerful force, burying the city under a multi-meter layer of ash and pumice. The mechanism of the eruption was classical for stratovolcanoes with viscous magma. The accumulation of gases in the magma chamber caused a sudden explosion. First, a giant column of ash rose into the sky. A rain of pumice began to cover the city, destroying roofs. The inhabitants, not realizing the scale of the danger, tried to wait it out at home. During the next hours, the whole city was buried under layers of volcanic deposits. But the worst awaited in the morning of the next day. Deadly pyroclastic flows, a mixture of heated gases, stones, and ash, rushed down on everything alive at speeds of more than 100 km/h. People literally boiled from the temperature, which reached 300–500 degrees C. Most did not even have time to escape. Death was instant. Archaeological excavations, which continue to this day, revealed bodies frozen in their last moments of life. Mothers covering children, people in prayer, dogs on chains. The locals did not understand the nature of the catastrophe. They believed it was the punishment of the gods. Among the victims were not only the inhabitants of Pompeii, but also the residents of nearby Herculaneum, destroyed the same day. The total number of dead, according to estimates, exceeded 16,000 people. About the events left a written testimony, Pliny the Younger. He observed the eruption from a safe distance and described it in letters to Tacitus. Thanks to him, we have unique details of the tragedy. Modern studies prove that the cause of the catastrophe was a combination of geological activity in the Campanian region and a long period of magma accumulation without eruption. The volcano had shown no activity for centuries, so people had become accustomed to its silent presence. Today, Pompeii is an open-air museum, one of the most impressive archaeological discoveries. Preserved streets, houses, frescoes, and even graffiti allow us to look into the life of people who disappeared in just a few hours. And Vesuvius is still considered active. The next eruption could be no less fatal because once again hundreds of thousands of people live around. The history of Pompeii is not only a tragedy, but also a priceless warning that the power of nature is incomprehensible and merciless. Saint-Pierre, the city erased from the face of the earth in just minutes. At the beginning of the 20th century, Saint-Pierre, the main city of the island of Martinique in the Caribbean Sea, was called the Paris of the West Indies. With a population of more than 30,000, it was the economic and cultural heart of the French colony. Banks, theaters, hotels, a tram, schools, and large plantations operated here. People lived a measured colonial life until in 1902, the volcano Mount Pelée, towering directly over the city, awoke. The first signs of activity appeared already in April. Small earthquakes, plumes of smoke from the crater, the smell of sulfur. But the inhabitants paid no attention to this. Moreover, the authorities persuaded people to remain in the city. Elections were ahead, and the governor did not want to create panic. The culmination came on May 8, 1902, when at 7:52 in the morning, a devastating explosion occurred. From the summit of the volcano, a pyroclastic flow broke loose at a speed of about 160 km/h. An extremely hot mass of gases, ash, and rock fragments with temperatures up to 1,000 degree wags. The flow not only covered the city, it literally burned it from the inside. People did not even manage to leave their houses. Death was instant. Bodies were charred, some even baked alive. Trees caught fire. Stone buildings exploded from the thermal shock. According to calculations, almost the entire population of the city died, about 29,000 people. Only one survived, Ludger Silbaris, a prisoner who was in an underground solitary cell with thick walls. He was found a few days later, burned, dehydrated, but alive. He later spoke of darkness, hot wind, and silence that enveloped the city. Another man, Léon Compère Léandre, survived on a boat in the port, managing to reach the sea under the bombardment of burning air. The very mechanism of the eruption was special. Due to viscous magma, a dome in the crater formed a lid, which restrained gases until the internal pressure exceeded the limit, and the mountain literally exploded. This is called a Pelean type of eruption, named after Mount Pelée itself. Today, Saint-Pierre is a small town rebuilt on the ruins. The ruins of old streets and buildings have been preserved as a memorial. Tourists can see the remains of the theater, the destroyed prison, and chunks of lava that engulfed colonial streets. Around, seismological stations are installed. Mount Pelée is considered dormant, but not extinct, and already in the 20s, it showed seismic activity again. Saint-Pierre is not just a memory of an eruption. It is a lesson how political indifference and underestimation of volcanic danger can cost thousands of lives. The tragedy of 1902 became one of the most terrifying in human history, caused by a volcanic eruption. The Colombian city of Armero, located in the fertile valley of the Lagunilla River in the department of Tolima, was home to more than 28,000 inhabitants. It was famous for its agricultural lands, in particular rice, cotton, coffee, and banana cultivation. Above the city towered the volcano Nevado del Ruiz, an ice-covered giant that had been silent for more than a century. But on November 13, 1985, it changed everything. Although the volcano had shown activity since September that year, Tremors were felt, smoke rose above the crater, small eruptions were observed. Local residents and authorities ignored the warnings of geologists. The Colombian Meteorological Service even had a map with forecasts of the danger zone. Armero was in the red zone, but people were not evacuated. Supposedly, there was no need to sow panic. On November 13, 1985, around 21, the eruption began. It was not very powerful. The volcano ejected ash, gases, and lava, but disaster came not from the sky, but from the glacier. The hot material melted the ice cap of the summit, forming giant lahars. Mud flows of volcanic ash, mud, rock debris, and ice. They rushed down from the mountain at speeds of more than 40 km/h, sweeping away everything in their path. At 23:30, the lahar reached Armero. People were asleep or hiding from ash in their homes. The flow up to 6 meters high covered the city within minutes. Mud destroyed buildings, churches, hospitals. Everything turned into a solid swamp of debris. At least 23,000 people died. More than 5,000 were injured. Thousands of bodies remained unburied, buried under mud and stones. The symbol of the tragedy became 13-year-old girl Omera Sanchez, who was trapped in the debris of her house. Her legs were pinned by wreckage, and rescuers lacked the equipment to free her. She spent 60 hours in water and mud. The world's media broadcast her face in real time. Her last words, "Be brave, I love you all," shocked the entire world. She died from gangrene, blood poisoning, and hypothermia. Today on the site of Armero, there is a memorial field. Only remnants of buildings and crosses with the names of the dead remain. Nevado del Ruiz is still active, and the experience of Armero is studied around the world as an example of how human negligence can make a natural disaster 1,000 times worse. On the Caribbean island of Montserrat, for a long time there was peace. Plymouth, its administrative capital, prospered, had its own government, port, and even the status of a little London, thanks to colonial architecture and a British way of life. But in the mid-1990s, something terrifying awakened beneath this peaceful city. The Soufrière Hills volcano, which had slept for more than 400 years. The first signs of activity appeared in July 1995, seismic tremors, steam emissions, minor ash eruptions. Many perceived it as a temporary anomaly. Yet in August, the first evacuation took place. About 5,000 people left their homes. However, after a few months they returned when the situation seemed stable. But on June 25, 1997, one of the most powerful eruptions occurred. Pyroclastic flows, superheated clouds of ash, gas, and debris moving at speeds of more than 160 km/h, within minutes covered the eastern part of the island, including Plymouth. The temperature of these flows reached over 700 degrees C, making survival impossible. The city burned down and was buried under a thick layer of ash and mud. 19 people died, dozens more were injured. The eruption destroyed hospitals, administrative buildings, infrastructure, the port, and finally stripped Plymouth of its capital status. Many residents lost everything: homes, businesses, documents. The mechanism of the eruption was typical for stratovolcanoes: increasing pressure from the accumulation of acidic magma, formation of a dome, which eventually collapses, provoking an explosion. After the catastrophe, more than 2/3 of the island became uninhabitable, and more than 70% of the population was evacuated. Some to neighboring islands, some to Great Britain. And although the activity of Soufrière Hills decreased after 2010, Plymouth was never revived. It still remains the official but dead capital. A ghost town, closed to tourists, while scientists observe every movement of the volcano, hoping to predict its next awakening. They are real events that have happened and still happen today. Cities disappear from the map in minutes, and the lives of thousands of people change forever. The stories of Pompeii, Saint-Pierre, Armero, Plymouth, and Heimaey are reminders of the fragility of civilization in the face of natural forces. Despite technological progress, we still cannot always predict when exactly a volcano will awaken. But these tragedies also show what human determination, science, and quick action are capable of, as in the case of Heimaey, when the lava did not destroy the port only because people did not give up. Today, many of these places have become memorials, museums, or simply frozen in time. They are both warnings and part of our collective memory. If you found this interesting, give it a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss new stories.